The QL muscle can quite literally make or break your lower back health. So if you're in a lot of lower back pain and you suspect the QL might be a problem, this video is for you. So this video is going to be the entire guide to fixing QL pain in just 3 steps, and it's pretty much 3 foolproof steps. So in this video, I'm going to have a lot of overlay cuts into the actual techniques I'm going to do and the things that you can follow step by step to get out of QL pain. Now, this isn't a complicated problem, but people try to make it complicated and make it seem like there's a 2-second fix to QL pain, but there's not. Now, I had QL problems for about 4 years and a whole other host of lower back problems, and now I'm out of it, and now I feel better, and I've helped a lot of other people do the same. And getting out of QL pain is really just 3 foolproof steps of massage, stretch, and strengthen, in that order. And if you have QL problems and you've tried all of the 2-minute fixes on YouTube, or you've gone to the chiropractor or the PT and they've fixed your QL, like, I guarantee you, if you still have QL pain, you have messed up at one of these steps. So make sure to do each of these thoroughly and in order. Now, from a 10,000 foot view, what we're gonna do in this video through massage, stretch, and strengthen is, 1, we're going to release the muscle of all of its constant tension, all of its rigid muscle fibers, its trigger points, its knots, the stuff that's constantly pulling on your lower back right now. Step 1 of massage is gonna get rid of that. Step 2 of stretch is gonna help lengthen the muscle so it has more pliability and you have more movement, so you're less likely to trigger your pain more often. And step 3 is to strengthen the muscle, and this is the most important and the last step, because once the muscle is rid of all of its knots and its trigger points and it's nice and loose and it moves well, we want to make sure it's resilient. You need to be resilient, because if you want to do anything in life, like if you want to be able to do yard work or play a sport or lift weights or pick up your kids, if you want to do anything like that, you need strength and endurance in the muscles that support your lower back. And mind you, the QL is potentially the most important lower back structural stabilizer, so you can't neglect the step of strengthening, or else you're just going to keep back into your QL problems. Now, okay, how do we actually do these 3 steps? So step 1 of massage is going to be with a tool. I obviously prefer QL Claw because I made it for this function, but the goal here is to break up all of the stiff, rigid, angry, knotting muscle tissue that is constantly just tense. We need to break it up. We need to attack the muscle fibers. Like, if you go to a PT or a massage therapist or a good chiropractor, like, they're gonna get in there with their thumbs and their knuckles and potentially even their elbow. You can do this at home with QL Claw or maybe some other tool that you can dig in there. But where a lot of people go wrong with this step is they underestimate just how much massage it takes. So what I recommend, if you think you have QL problems, or like right when you get your QL Claw, is doing it twice a day for 3 days and doing it 2 minutes aside on each time. So that's quite a bit of volume and quite a short period of time for your QL, especially if you haven't massaged it in years or ever. And if you do that for 3 days and you do that successfully, you should feel a lot of pain just be relieved from that alone. But after you do the massage, that's just step 1, you're not done. Step 2 is gonna be stretch. And I love doing this with a hockey stick or a broomstick or pretty much any stick where you can really get a deep, nice stretch in there. And you only need to do this a couple sessions, maybe 2 to 4, to really lengthen the muscle, and that way the muscle is actually longer. So like if you can picture a bungee cord with a longer slack length, it's not pulling on your joints quite as much, so it's impinging less nerves and it's causing less pain. So make sure to do step 2, especially after you massage it. It's gonna be a whole lot more susceptible to stretch. If you do this out of order, the QL might just not be able to stretch if you don't massage it first, because especially if you've had this problem for a long time, like years, like I did, or a lot of people who have QL problems did, there's just nothing you can do to stretch it until you get in there and physically break up the tissue. So make sure you start with massage first and then stretch the muscle. And when you do stretch it after massaging, you should notice that you can get into a lot deeper stretch than normal, because you've already broken up that muscle fiber and it's a lot more susceptible to stretch. And after this, you only have 1 step, and you don't want to neglect it, because if you don't, you're gonna fall right back into your QL problems that you started with. So especially if you've had QL problems for a long time, chances are high that your QL muscles have gone through some atrophy. They've gotten weak. And once you massage and stretch them, they're ready to work again, but they're just underdeveloped and they're weak. And you need to build up some strength and endurance in the muscles so that you're more resilient and you can go out and play sports or do yard work or do whatever you want to do physically without having to worry about your back. And this is the step that quite literally bulletproofs your back. And that's kind of a buzzword, but it's not an exaggeration in this case, because the QL muscle is so structural and so vital to a healthy lower back that when you strengthen it, it's like armor. It's like wearing a weightlifting belt around everywhere, because that's how important and powerful it can be when you have a well-functioning, well-working QL. And to strengthen it, it's not that hard. If you've been following me for any time, you know what I'm gonna recommend here. Side planks are always number 1, and then suitcase carries and pail-off press variations are great ways to strengthen the QL. And one thing to keep in mind here is you don't just want to go for strength. Like, you don't want to be ready for just one big lift or one big high impact event. Like, you want a QL that can withstand stress over a lot of time. Like, most QL injuries actually don't happen from like one big high impact event. They happen from fatigue. Like in football, most injuries happen in the 4th quarter. That's not from a lack of strength, that's a lack of endurance. That's because muscles are breaking down, and then when they're put in vulnerable positions, they have nothing left to give and they have to spasm to protect the body. So if you want to be able to do yard work for hours or play play 45 minutes of basketball, you need to build up endurance in the QL, so make sure you're hitting your side planks and suitcase carries for high amounts of time, like up to 1.5, 2 minutes for your sets, not just a short burst that can help you lift a heavy couch or do something big one time. Now, the last thing I'm gonna say in this video, and the last thing you wanna keep in mind if you have QL problems, is that after doing all of these 3 steps thoroughly, so massage for a couple days in a row, stretch for a couple days in a row, and then strengthen for a couple weeks consecutively, if you get through all this and your back still hurts, that's not a reason to give up and that's not a reason to lose hope. What that means is that there's other problems at play, and it's likely other muscles, and if your QL is a problem, chances are it's probably glute medius and glute minimus. And these 2 muscles lie on top of each other. They do pretty much the exact same thing, and a lot of times they get tight and tense and cause pain in conjunction with the QL. So if you do these 3 steps thoroughly and you still have lower back pain, I would check out gluteus medius next, but it could be as many as 4 or 5 other muscles that are contributing to your lower back pain. This isn't a reason to get discouraged. This just means you knocked over one of the potentially many blocks that are in the way of you and having a pain-free lower back. And if you bought a QL Claw, the good news is that tool is designed to actually hit all of the other muscles that could be causing your lower back pain. If you have QL pain right now, like really just buy into these 3 steps, because especially if you've had it for years, like sometimes I get emails saying like, oh, I've had QL pain for months or years. These 3 steps don't change. Like it's always gonna be the 3 same steps to QL pain relief, whether you've had the problem for a day or a year or 10 years. It's still gonna be the same steps to get you out of it. Now, if you've had QL pain for longer, it's probably gonna take you a little bit more time. Like if you just have an acute QL injury and it's your first one ever and it's only been a week, like you can probably get out of this in like a week or 2. But if you've had QL pain for years, it could be a couple weeks or maybe even a month or 2 to really iron out the QL and strengthen it and build it back up to where it's not causing you lower back pain anymore. My hope with this is that you don't get discouraged and that you stay on the right path to getting QL pain relief, because with the right direction, it's really not a super complicated problem. And lastly, to shout out my coaching, if you have lower back pain and you don't really know what the source is, or if you feel like you've tried everything, book a call with me below. I am taking people to work with me one-to-one in my back pain mastery one-to-one coaching. It's a lot like personal training and PT online for the back. We'll put together a personalized full day regimen for you with the habits, the workouts, the techniques, the things you need to be thinking about every single day to get you out of back pain. We'll have weekly Zoom calls to check in and make sure we're pivoting and getting you to your goals no matter what they are. If you want to hear from someone who's done the coaching, check out my recent video with Andy. We got him back into fighting MMA. So we're doing some pretty cool stuff here. It's really fulfilling work. Hope to see you guys inside. I love doing this, so I hope more people sign up. But yeah, the QL muscle is not better than you or your lower back, so don't let it discourage you. Take the steps in this video and find some lower back pain relief. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you in the